Right. I am live. Looks like it anyway. We'll give it a few minutes, a few seconds, few minutes to let people pop on over into the chat room. So let me open up the chat room. There we go. And clear my throat. And listen to the dog bark because he apparently has to talk. That's just awesome. But that's what you get on a live stream. There's no post-production and any of that stuff. This is just me with a dusty webcam and a day in the life here at the Pruitt Palace. I give folks a few more minutes to hop on in and join me. But in the interim, I'm going to go ahead and get my beverage of choice ready. Looks like some people are popping in. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome to Friday Night Live partying with little old me, Aunt Pruitt. We're going to do a little bit of live photo editing. But I got to get my beverage first. So give me a second. Tonight, we are going with, not sponsored, Balvenie Double Wood 12. Love me a single malt scotch. Whenever I'm online doing podcast or live streaming or whatever, I typically like to have a beverage with me because that's what I do when I'm editing. I always have a beer or whiskey with me. It's just part of my flow. But welcome to everybody popping in. I see people are watching. Say something in the chat so I can see who you are. For those that are here, I am Aunt Pruitt. Thank y'all for coming in. Digital freelance content creator, photography, video, and writing. I try to do as much as I can to create and dominate, and I just love doing it. And tonight, we're going to talk about some bokeh photography. Looks like we got Michael's. Hey, what's happening, Mike? And then we got Bathing Beauty. Ooh, Lord. She likes scotch, too. I know you like scotch. You like the Chivas, don't you? I remember. Cheers. All right. We'll go ahead and get rolling here. I want to try to keep this under an hour if at all possible. Don't want to keep y'all too long. Plus, with some recent news that's happened in my family, my extra time is limited. You know, I really need to focus on spending more time with my family because Queen Pruitt is going to be gone for a little while. I won't see her for a little while. But she understands that this is what I do. She understands that this is a part of the empire that we're building here. So I'm going to knock out this live stream and then get back to spending time with the family. All right. So let's go ahead and do it. We're going to do some bokeh photography. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but bokeh photography, that's spelled B-O-K-E-H. That is when you have a subject in clear focus and sharp, and in the background you get this nice blurry finish, and then if you have little lights in the background, those lights, they start to blur out and they look like little round colorful circles. And if you're playing it out right, you know, and set your camera up the right way, it's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is make sure you have a pretty wide open aperture on your camera, something like an f2.8 or even faster, you know, a f2, f1.8, something like that. And you can pretty much get it every single time. It'll just let you focus on your subject, and then if there's any type of lighting in the background, it'll blur it out, and you can even make little circles with those lights. It's pretty neat. But if you don't have a lens like that, you can always use Photoshop and just play around with it and just make your own little composite of this type of effect. So that's what I want to do tonight, because I know everybody don't have those high-end, super expensive lenses, but you can get Photoshop for $10 a month, and I'll leave a link below for that. And you can just hop in Photoshop and just put it all together. So what you'll need, let's go ahead and open up my gallery here. What you'll need is whatever your subject matter is, whatever your image is, and you're going to need some type of bokeh lights. And I think I already got some in here somewhere. Maybe I don't. Maybe I need to do an import. This is Lightroom, by the way. So first I'm just going to import everything. And as I said previously, this is live. This is just me working. You're not going to get all this fancy post-production stuff on this video. This is just how I really roll with this stuff. So just bear with me, just in case we have some type of weird ticks and stuff to happen. Okay, so yeah, now my stuff is popping in. So let's go ahead and do an import. And thank y'all again for popping in and joining me in the chat room. Okay, so here are some images that I needed to import, and we will work with, I'm going to work with Queen Pruitt. These are some shots that I literally took a couple hours ago, if that. And these are the bokeh lights. If I go ahead and open these up, you'll see that all I had to do is I just went outside with my camera one night. This is actually when I was out of town, and I'm walking down the city street somewhere and just pulled out my camera, aimed at some lights in downtown, but I made sure the camera wasn't focused, and I snapped a shot. And that's what you get. You get these little lights, and they look great depending on your composition. And I took a couple different versions, tried to get some with a few different color hues in it. Here we got some reds and orange, all that good stuff. Okay, so let's go back to our main subject. Let's play around with this photo here. Okay, nothing to it. Queen Pruitt looking great like she normally does, just having her whatever this beverage is. I don't know what this beverage is. I don't drink it, but I can just do a little bit of post-processing on it just to get it started. I think I shot this with the Pixel. Yep, this is shot with the Pixel 2 XL, if you look over there. But that means nothing. It's still a great camera, and we can make this thing work. So I'm just going to do a little bit of touch up on it with some of the exposure and things like that. Contrast. Let's push the shadows up some. Just sort of quick and dirty. You know, take the black levels down a little bit. Now we'll go to clarity, push that. Dehaze, I normally do that first, but it wasn't too hazy, so I wasn't sweating it. And you notice it doesn't really change much. Okay, and then we'll do the vibrance and saturation. Right here, pushing that up. Very good, very good, very good. All right, not much else to do to this. This is fairly sharp, and it doesn't have a lot of noise. Okay, but now again, let's look at this. Let's look at the subject. She is in really nice focus, nice and crispy. But then you look at the background, it's blurred out already. And that's because this is shot in that quote unquote portrait mode that a lot of these smartphones are doing nowadays. But if I didn't have that portrait mode, I could still generate that effect just by going onto the screen and just brushing out that background and making it blurry like that. You know, it's not that hard as long as you got the tools at hand. But that's that bokeh effect right there. Is the really crisp upfront person or subject in focus, and then right behind them is a shallow depth of field and everything just blurs out. It's pretty nice. Okay, so back to the image here. All right, so nice blurry background. She looks pretty good there. Let me bring the exposure up just a little more. It's a little too dark for me. Just a little more. And push the shadows up. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into the fun part, and we're going to push this image on over into Photoshop. So to do that, I just right click inside of Lightroom and say edit in Photoshop. Now granted, I could have done all of this in Photoshop from the very beginning, but my workflow starts inside of Lightroom. Okay, so once we're in Photoshop, rule of thumb, the very first thing that you have to do is to make sure over here on the right that you're duplicating this layer, okay? Because that way, if you really screw something up, you always have a backup right there, okay? So I got that backup sitting right there, and I'm good to go to just go ahead and play around and really try to get fun and funky with this image, okay? So we got our duplicated layer. Let's go ahead and do a little more sharpening on it. I have an action in place that'll let me do sharpening up here in the upper right, and it'll do it pretty much automatically because I programmed it that way. So I just click play and it'll start thinking, and you see it goes through the sharpening process right there, putting all those extra layers in and everything, and the little smart objects. And I'm going to double click on this high pass filter just to make sure the sharpness is just right. So I'm going to drop it all the way down. Uh-oh, cancel. That layer right there needs to go back down here. There we go. Somehow I screwed that up. My bad. Okay, so take it all the way down, and then we're going to make it nice and crispy, but not too sharp, like that. There. That's a little too much. There, that works. And if we do a before and after, that's before and that's after. Sharpness is much better. See, if you can look right here at her hair, this is the before sharpening, and then I'll click on this button over here, that's after sharpening. Notice all the details really pop out now. Okay, so that's good to go. Let's go ahead and start the composite. So I'm just going to merge those layers together and just going to work from this particular layer, okay? But again, just to be safe, I'm going to duplicate it. There. I got my copy of it down there in the bottom. All right. Everything making sense so far, chat room? All right. So I want to take and put some bokeh lighting behind her. So inside of Photoshop, I can just open up one of those images. If I hop on over to my folder that's got the images, where to put them? Let's go to this PC here, users, and Lightroom, June, and here they are. They're down here. So let's take a look at, we'll just open a couple of these to look at them as an example. I like the blue one, I like the red, I like that one, and I like this one too. So we'll go ahead and open them up. Hey, Mr. Kyle, you in the house? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in, man. Okay, now since those were all raw images, when I went to open them, the camera raw filter came up, which is okay. I can just hit open so it'll go into Photoshop. There. Okay, where did my other ones go? Huh. Should have my other images in here. So let's try this again. I definitely want to keep this one, but I want to open up the one that had the blue in it too, considering she has on blue. So we'll go open on that, and we'll say open image. There. And we'll open up one more just for the heck of it, because why not? This is Friday night and we're having some fun editing in Photoshop. Okay, there. Now we have all of our little bokeh lights. So I'm going to unlock these layers in each one of the tabs. So just click that little lock to unlock it, and go up to the tabs at the top to go to my other image, and then back over here to this little lock and unlock it. And the cool thing about this in Photoshop is I can literally drag these images onto the top of my main subject here. And I think I'll just start with this blue one here. So I'm just going to click on this layer, and I'll just drag like that. And I'm going to go all the way over to the tab where she was, and then I'll just drop it. And it's going to give me this crazy warning. Yeah, we want to proceed. Click OK. Yep. All right. And of course, that looks like crap. I mean, it looks really bad. But no worries, because we have all of this capability and flexibility inside of Photoshop. We can handle that. So first thing I'm going to do is resize this. You see the layer over here? So I'm just going to make sure this is clicked, and I can go up to my file menu. Actually, it's not file, it's the edit menu. So go to the edit menu, scroll down to free transform, or just hit Control T. Okay. And then I'm going to zoom out because I'm a little too tight. But you see, since I have this free transform, I can move this around on the canvas like that. I can scale it any kind of way like that. Of course, I don't want to do it that way. I'm going to scale it more so like that. Something like that. I really like this blue light, so I'm thinking I could put it over here to the right like that, and then maybe scale it up just a little more and move it over something like that. Bring that, nah, let's keep it nice aspect there, something like that. And then we'll just click OK up here at the top, or enter on the keyboard, and there it's on top of the picture. But again, this looks really bad. This does not do anything for that. Okay, so what we have to do is over here on the left hand side where all of our, on the right hand side where all of our layers are, we have to change the blend mode. If you notice, the top says the blend mode is set to normal for this layer 1. And you can play around because Photoshop has a gazillion different types of blend modes. And for something like this, where you want that layer below to shine through, you want to work with the layers along this segment here, the lighten, screen, dodge. You can work with any of those, or you can work with the layers down with the blend modes here. I'm probably going to work with soft light, but I'll show you the difference between a couple of them. So let's start with just looking at screen. Screen is almost like making it bleed through with transparency like that. Okay. So let's zoom in on this image, let you see a little bit better. So this is what it looked like at normal. Okay. Now I'm going to change it over to screen, And you see how it almost just makes layer 1 transparent, and it just bleeds through ever so nicely, which looks pretty cool right now. That may be what we work with. Okay. Or we can go back to the blend mode and we can try, say, overlaying like that. And you see you get a whole different effect. I hardly ever use overlay. I don't even know why I clicked on that. I like to play around with soft light. See, that's getting a little bit better, but it made this image a little too dark for my taste. We can try pin light. Pin light's going to be really weird. Watch. But it's cool though. I mean, there is a place for that somewhere, just not in this particular shot. And then you can try color. And what color does is it basically grays out the layer on the bottom and allows only the colors on your top layer to pop through, which again looks fairly cool, but not necessary for this particular project. Luminosity will really blow out the screen like that. Really weird. So I'm not going to do that. But again, when you're messing with these different blend modes over here on the right, in addition to the blend modes, you can play with the opacity and the fill, because that just gives you a whole different look, and it shows you a different intensity for each of these different effects here. So let's change it to lighten just for the heck of it. And I'm going to change the opacity from 100% and just bring it down to maybe 50. Okay. So you see now you just get like a little bit of a lens flare right here. When I play with that opacity over here on the right, I'm getting a bit of a lens flare effect. Okay. So this is what, let's take a look at the screen, look at her image here. This is what it looks like at 100%. But if I just take that opacity down to about 40 or so, looks like a pretty cool lens flare. Pretty slick, right? But I don't want to use this blend mode. I want to use soft light. And I'm going to take the opacity back down again. Nope, maybe not soft light. I thought it worked out better. I was wrong, but that's okay. Color, linear light, luminosity, nope. Which one was it? Oh, screen, that's the one we want. Yeah, screen. And I take it, I don't want to take the opacity down too far, but I think that's pretty slick right there. So now I'm going to go back and play around with the sizing of this, because now I think the little blue bubble, if you will, is a little too large. So I'm going to go back and hit over here on my file menu, free transform. And remember, we're only messing with those lights. So I can just move it around like that. I can scale it just a touch and just play around with it. If I want to rotate it, I can rotate it like that. You know, and this is the beauty of doing composites. You know, you can take multiple images and blend them together to make one awesome photo. I sort of like the rotation on these. I think rotating it this way probably works a little bit better because the sun is right here. So that sun is giving you a natural light, and you can see that it's casting a little bit of a highlight right here on her forehead and on the side of her face. So why not use these little bokeh lights as like a little flare? So let's just drag them on over like that. Something like that. Let's see. We'll make the scale a little bit bigger again. Any questions in the chat room? Something like, yeah, I think that works like that. So we'll click OK, and we'll zoom back in and get a better look. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, but there's more we can do to this. Let's take the background. I'm thinking maybe we can take that background and darken it a little bit behind her, but we're not going to touch those bokeh lights. We're only going to touch her layer and see if we can darken the background to bring a little more attention on her and a little more of the bokeh lights to just sort of stand out. So let's play around with that too. So best trick for me to do is to just go ahead and turn this layer off, because I don't need to see it right now. I know it's there and it's not going anywhere. It's just going to stay right there. So I'll just turn it off for now. And since I have a copy right here, I will work with my copy as a backup, and I have to do a blur layer. So let's duplicate this one, and we'll call this layer here blur, like that. Does that make sense? And then we'll use this layer, we'll call it our sharp, something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to right click on the blur layer and make it a smart object, because when you make it a smart object in Photoshop, it allows you to make changes a little easier and you don't have to do a bunch of undoing. So now this is a smart object and it's my blur layer, and I'm going to turn off the sharp layer. Okay, so let's go ahead and blur out. So we'll go up to our filter menu at the top. I'm going to blur, and Gaussian blur usually works pretty good, and I'm just going to crank it up pretty high. Okay, so we got it blurred pretty good like that. And then I want to do a adjustment on it to make it a little bit darker. So we'll go to image, brightness, or image adjustment, brightness and contrast, and I'm going to darken it just a touch, something like that. Contrast, yeah, cranking up the contrast really makes this area darker. Okay. All right, so we got the blur and the darkening done. Now we'll go back to it by clicking on the sharp and activating it, and we're going to put a layer mask on this particular sharp level layer, and just click layer mask down here at the bottom. Okay, and with the layer mask right here on the right selected, I'm going to click B for my brush tool, which is also over here on the left hand side, but the shortcut is B. And I'm just going to brush in that dark background. I'm going to make sure my brush is nice and soft. You see the hardness is set to 2%. I want that to be 0. So the brush is soft, opacity is 85%. So let's see how that looks. So we'll brush on it like that. Oh, wait a minute. This is not going to work because I have to make sure my layer that I'm doing the mask on is a actual layer and not a smart object. Sorry. So I need to go ahead and rasterize that layer. There we go. So now when I brush on it, it should get darker. Or actually, if I use the right paint, there we go. So that got a little bit darker. You know, I don't think that's dark enough. So we're going to undo. We're going to go back. We're going to undo and go back into this layer again. double click it, and we're going to make it darker. Make it darker. Something like that. Okay. Now, go back to our layer mask. Hit B for the brush tool. Brush it in. Okay, that's a little bit darker. I can live with that. And just carefully brush the background. Carefully brush it. Make it a little bit darker. Like that. And if I brush over her like that, that's okay, because it's fixable. I just want to make sure I get all of my edges fairly close. Okay. So we got the edges fairly close. To fix that, you just change your brush color over here on the left. Just change it from black to white. So I'll just click X on my keyboard to change it. And then you just paint back. Like that. So that brings it back. Everything that you wanted anyway. And I still went a little too far. And that's because I'm not using my Wacom tablet. I'm using my mouse. I hate, I really hate trying to brush on the screen with this mouse. And I love my mouse, but a job like this calls for my Wacom tablet, which is this little thing right there on the screen, and the stylus that it comes with, or pen as they call it. So we'll go ahead and get back over here and make my brush strokes a lot better with this thing. So we're in white there. So let's brush this back. Make that a little smaller. Like that. Much better detail this time. Much more control. Make that darker. See? Doesn't that look better that way? Really dark background. Brings her out a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I'll zoom in just to really fine tune it like that. And there's other ways to do this. I could have done a selection. Do a select and mask. And that'll make getting the edges a little bit easier. But it's okay. I got this. I got this. No worries, mate. All in the details. We'll even do around this crazy can that she has too. Whatever that is. There. Cool. Any questions, chat room? Just yell if you do. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Mistake. There we go. All right, so now we have that dark. Let's go ahead and bring back our little bokeh lights. Boom. Now, doesn't that look better? You have that dark contrast, and then you have these lights. I think that looks 200% better than what it did a minute ago. So this is what it looked like a minute ago. Looked like that. That's with the bright background. Now, with the dark background, I think that looks better myself. What do you think? Matter of fact, I'll just group it just to show it a little bit easier. So that's before, And that's after. Cool. You like? Pretty simple. Let me hop over to another screen here real quick. And then we'll jump back into Photoshop. There we go. All right, so that one's pretty much done. If anything, I will do a vignette on it. So to finish this particular image out, I will just go to File menu at the top, click Save, and it's going to save it at the bottom right there. And then when I close this tab, that's going to let me go back into Lightroom with my fresh new bokeh effect. And if I want to do any more editing, I can. You know, I can go in here and I can do some touch up on her face, you know, so I can put a little plotter here, change this to soften skin like that. And then I'll zoom in a little bit. Whoops, not out, zoom in. And then I can just brush up on her face, something like that, just to soften her skin. Not too much. You don't want it to look too fake. Just soften it up. And I could have done all of this in Photoshop too. But just brush away. The little blemishes like that. I can put a little more flow on it. Okay. If I want to drag down, brush away a little bit more here around the cheeks. Like that. Let's make that a little bit softer. Smooth that skin out like that. Thank you, Mr. Kyle. Smoothing that out like that. And again, this is just really quick. I could have spent a lot more time on this, but just for the sake of this tutorial, just quick and easy, just to show you the basis slash fundamentals. And we'll do this here like that. Okay, we'll zoom out. Not that far. Jeez Louise. Why is it zooming out way so far? It shouldn't zoom that far. Let's check my view. There we go. That's better. Now, doesn't that look sharp? That is bokeh lights on just a regular image, and that's just using two images, making a composite, and just putting it all together and making it work. Her hands don't look right, so let's brush away on her hands a little bit. Soften up the hands some, because ladies like to have soft hands. Just soften them up just a touch, like that. See, now I'm getting overboard, spending more time than I wanted to for this live stream. Blast. There. Don't she look good there? It's okay if you say yeah. Cool. All right, so that is it. That is a nice, quick and dirty composite and Uh-oh, did my, there it is. That's a quick and dirty composite of two images blended together and giving us the nice, wonderful bokeh effect, even though I didn't have the equipment or the surroundings to produce that particular shot. But with software, you can get it done. Let's look at it one more time there. But I dig it. If I want to do one more thing to mess around with it, didn't mean to hit the clarity. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my list here. And as usual, play around with the color profiles. Bring out that orange and that teal even more. And watch how this thing will pop like that. See, now it's really popping. Personally, I dig it. Like that. There we go. There. That's a completed image-ish. All right. Do you have any questions for me, chat room? Should we try one more quick image? You know, I probably could do one more. Let me see. What else is on this particular hard drive? Well, let's see. We got a rainbow shot. We got the forest. It's not really the forest, but it's a path. Why not? Let's play around with this. I think this one has a little bit of potential. So let's see. Flip over to where you can actually see it. I think this one has some potential with a little bit of lighting effects, because it has all of these little highlights right here from the sun peeking in like that there, peeking in right there. All of those look pretty cool. So we'll do a quick run through on this one. If I can hit the right menus. Sit that there for a second. I can go back to the mouse for now. We will dehaze to start her out. Not a lot of haze, so nothing really changes, of course. I believe I shot this with the pixel as well. Yep, I did. And let's take this exposure down. We want to make this dark and really play off of the little sunlight peeking through. So let's do that. Shadows. Bring those shadows down just a little bit. Highlights. I want to bring the highlights up a little bit more. Okay. Excuse me. Contrast to give us a little bit of definition between all of the colors. Vibrance. Saturation. Not too high. Okay, I like that. You know what? I just realized I didn't vignette her image a minute ago. Let me do a vignette on that. It'll look even better. So I'm going to do a vignette on her picture. See, that looks better with the vignette. Okay, sorry. I just had an ADD moment. Let's go back to what we were working on. Okay, so now back to this little path here at a nearby park. I like that it's just sunlight peeking through. So I want to play off of that and just make it sort of dark and moody. Heck, I probably could add some haze to this one. So let's add a little bit of haze. Nah, I don't like that. At least not that version of haze. We can paint in some haze later if we want to. Okay. I dig that. And then let's try to warm it up some with the white balance. So I'm going to warm it up just a little bit. Nope, warming it up makes it too bright. So let's cool it off. Let's cool it off to right about here. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I think that's a good starting ground. What you think? Crank our clarity too. That's a good starting ground. Nice and dark with just a little bit of highlights peeking through. Okay, so let's give it some noise reduction real quick. I don't see a lot of it, but it's always nice to add it just in case there's some hidden noise that you don't see. And then we'll go ahead and hop into Photoshop like so. It's going to think about it, and there we are. And again, golden rule, give ourselves a nice backup, make a copy just in case I screw something up, because I always do. And let's pick out some lights to work with. So remember we had the different lights in the tabs at the top. Here's a tab, here's a tab, and here's a tab. So we got that one, that one, that, no. We got that one, and that one. Not going to use this because the blue really stands out. Not going to use that because the red really stands out. This one has potential, but I do have a few more. So let's go and look at a few more before we decide on using this one. Okay. So we'll do File, Open, scroll through this list again. Where'd it go? Did I scroll too far? I scrolled too far. Okay. This one has potential, and this one has potential too. So we'll go with that one first. Open image. Okay, and then we'll go and open up the other one too. I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, these are tiny. These might work really well. So let's go with that one for now. Yeah, see, those are tiny. And that one little blue one, I can get rid of that. So we'll open image. Okay, so unlock it on the layer panel over here on the right hand side. And let's drag it into our other image. Let's drag it and drop it. Tell it yes, tell it okay. Okay. We got our layer selected over here on the right, and we can play with our blend mode. Now, before we play the blend mode, I want to get rid of this blue right here. And this is very easy to do. I can just draw a little line around it like that, and then I can go up to the edit menu, go to fill, and say content aware, and it's probably going to make it black, or it'll make it the same color as the other one, and boom, it's pretty much gone. And do the same thing, edit, fill, content aware. Okay. All right, so that's fixed. Now let's go ahead and play with our blend mode. Last time, what did we end up using? Was it screen? Yeah, we used screen last time. And it looks like little fireflies in there. How cool is that? So let's try soft light. And maybe take our opacity down right here. Let's take it down a little bit. That doesn't work too well for me. Okay, so let's go back and try. We can try multiply. Nope, too dark. Told you these little sections here hardly ever work for anything that I use. But we can try lighten. That looks really good. I like that. It almost looks like fireflies. Granted, this is a whole different color light source, so maybe we should probably try to match that up. We can try it. So what we'll do is click on this layer, go to select, and then go to color range. And then we're going to take our little eyedropper and just point to that right there. And you see when we adjust the fuzziness, it pretty much isolates only our little bit of lights right here. Okay, so we'll hit OK. And if you zoom in a little closer, you'll see that the little selection is around all of those little lights. And what I want to do is just brush those with a different color. So let's use our eyedropper tool over here on the left. I don't see it. There it is. And this eyedropper tool allows us to pick a color pretty easily. Let's try that color like that. Okay, so now that that color is selected, I can hit B for my brush tool and make this brush as big as I want. And whoops. And I'll make it a hard brush too, like that. And when I brush over this, it's only going to brush everything that is within those little selections. It's not going to brush anything outside of the selections. So I'm just going to brush in that color that we just selected, like that. See, it changed the color while it's thinking about it. Allegedly. There it goes. And if I do a undo, you'll see the difference. So if I did an undo, that was what it looked like before. And we'll do a redo to go back there. All right, I like those lights. Let's play around with the positioning of these lights by going to our free transform tool, which is again edit, free transform. And we can move these around. Ruh-roh, my selection is there. Notice that? So I need to undo all of that, cancel that, and I need to deselect everything there. So now I can move these around. That's better. And maybe rotate it like that. Let me zoom out. Should we scale them? Should we make them bigger? Something like that. What do y'all think about making it larger like that? What about something like that? I think that's workable. So I'm going to click OK there. And now I'm going to go and grab another one. Let's see what we can do with something like this one. Drag it into our image. Boom. Yep. Yep. There. Change our blend mode. What were we using? Lighten? Yeah, lighten. Okay. And then we'll move that one around too. Make it bigger, make it smaller. Notice how it has like a little bit of a flare right there. I think that's usable. So how about we take that flare, rotate it around like that. What about that? What you guys think? Now, I think the opacity is a little too high on it, but we can fix that. So I'll hit OK on that. And then I'm going to take the opacity for that layer, drop it down a little bit. Drop it down like that. All right. And let's do a mask again, or maybe even play around with the fill, because that decreases the intensity too. Yeah, it's working. I think that works, folks. I think that works. Bring the fill up a little more. Fill back down. And see, that's this is what I like about post-processing. It's the whole playing around, trying to see what works, you know, what works best for this scene. And there's never really a wrong way. It's just what feels right, you know, what tickles your fancy, if you will. See, I like this because it sort of looks like a little more sun just sort of trickling in, but also giving us some lens flare like that. I dig that. But I want to put another layer mask on it down here in the bottom. And then I'm going to hit my brush tool. And I'm going to brush away some of these, but I think my brush is a little too hard. Yep, brush is way too hard. Let's make it a soft brush like that. And maybe even take some of the opacity of the brush down. Okay, so now let's just brush away some of it like that. Word. I think that works, folks. It's a little crazy, but hey, that's the joy and fun of it all. You get to be as creative as you see fit. Again, mess with our opacity. Bring that down just a little bit like that. Take the fill down a little. And we have a whole new image, folks. You know what? If I want to get even crazier, I can add one more layer, and I'm going to go ahead and get ready to get out of here because we have hit our hour. But I'm going to add one more layer here, and I'm going to put just a weird gradient on it just to see what happens. So I will pick a color again. Let's go with something like that. And then I'm going to hit G on my keyboard, which brings open my gradient tool that you see up here in the upper left. And change the blend mode to, let's try soft light for that too. And then I'll just drag a gradient across this screen. Ooh, that made that pop. Look at that. So that's an option. Let me flip it around. Let's try the gradient another way. Let's try it this way. See, they brought it more on that side, more like sunlight. Yeah, I like that. And then I can just take the opacity again, bring it down just a touch, like that. Do one more layer mask on the bottom. Excuse me. And brush away some of it there, because I don't need that gradient down there. I think it works just good right here. Yeah, I think that works. That's totally different from what we started with, folks. So this is the before, and this is the after. Putting a little bokeh lights on it gives it some extra lighting and a little bit of flare on the screen. It ain't the best picture, but I'm just trying to show you proof of concepts. Hey, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that, man. All right, so I am going to hit save on this, and that'll go back over into Lightroom, and close that. And I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of here. Do you have any questions for me? Feel free to just ask them in the chat, or you can just leave a comment on this video below, and I'll try to answer your question as best as I can. Mouth was getting a little dry. That's it, in the fairy forest. That was the whole point. Now I could probably add like a little bit of haze to this. Whatever, why not? Let's just try to add a little bit of haze just to see what happens. Let's see. I'm back in Lightroom. It'd have been easier inside of Photoshop, but it's still doable. I'm going to go over here to my adjustment brush tool, and I'm going to get my Wacom tablet, and I am going to select, let's go with lighten, or dodge as it's called. And I'm going to increase exposure on this brush. Okay, and then I will take the flow and knock it down about 50% or so. Okay. And what I'm going to do is basically brush in some fake light. And I'll just barely do it. I'll just barely tap onto the screen just to make it faint. Maybe a little more than that. So let's push our flow up some more. And then I'll change the clarity, and then put the haze in like that. So it brought a little bit to it. Something like that. Okay. And then we'll finish it up by going to the vignette tool. Whoops. And instead of doing a typical vignette where you slide it down into the negative to where it makes it dark on the edges like that, slide it to the right and it'll put a little bit of haze on it like that. Change the midpoint, change the feather. And there you have like a little bit of a mist on your screen. Something like that. There you go. There you go. Something like that. That'll work, right? A little misty, hazy, fairy forest trail, if you will. All right, we are going to call it a night, folks. Thank you all again for hopping in and joining me on another Friday night party here at the Pruitt Palace. I appreciate all of the support, and I appreciate you guys actually pinging me and messaging me during the week about the live stream. It blows my mind, but it's a freaking honor to be able to do these things for you all. I'm glad that I can put these out there and help show you folks the process, and hopefully help you all along your way in the photography world and content creation world. Again, be sure to follow me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at @Pruitt, as well as follow me on Twitter at @_Pruitt. And far as this video goes, if you enjoyed it, please hit the share button and share it with everybody that you think may be interested, or even if they're not interested, share it with them anyway. And also, if you feel so obliged to subscribe, I'd appreciate you clicking that subscribe button. And if you would like to join my Patreon army, feel free to do that. That is patreon.com/AntPruitt. That allows me to continue to invest and bring things into this channel and create even more content and better content. Stay tuned, because next week I will be announcing the winner of my Peak Design Slide Lite camera strap giveaway. It's actually right here. Here it is. This is the Peak Design Slide Lite camera strap. I am giving this away next week. You still have a little time to go on over to my previous video where I mentioned the Alpine Lab Spark and the giveaway. So just go on over to that video, follow the instructions to be able to enter that video, to enter the giveaway, and you'll have an entry, and I'll announce the winner next week. That's the week of the 20-something. I don't know. But thank you again. Hey, Mr. Stouffer, thank you. Thank you very much. Same to you, my friend. Hope you all have a great weekend. Take some time to get out there and do what you love, but also take some time to settle in and spend time with your family. That quality time is something you'll never get back, and just enjoy it. All right, thank y'all very much. I will catch you all on the next video. So now, get out there, go create, and dominate.